Hi everybody, Joe Cioffi here. It's Thursday, coming up on 6 o'clock Eastern Time, April the 12th, 2018. And it looks like we've got a very busy next couple of days over parts of the country anyway, with a major storm that is going to be moving across the plains and making its way slowly eastward through the Midwest. And this is going to have all sorts of weather complications for much of the area east of the Rockies, anywhere from blizzard conditions in parts of the plains to severe weather that's going to break out later Friday night, and then again Saturday, and then again on Sunday as a weather front slowly progresses across the Gulf states. I think this could be a fairly substantial severe weather outbreak with this. And of course, here in the Northeast, where we're battling just trying to get a couple of warm days. It looks like at least tomorrow will be the case, but starting to have my doubts again for Saturday with this backdoor cold front coming down, and then eventually this weather front is going to press eastward and bring heavy rains into the east. So let's begin tonight by showing you a very busy map here with warnings and watches that are up, among other things. First off, we have winter storm warnings up. I'm sorry, let me start first and foremost in the orange area. We have blizzard warnings up for parts of northwestern Kansas, a good chunk of Nebraska, northeastern Colorado, eastern Wyoming, much of South Dakota. Winter storm warnings extending west and north from there into the northern Rockies. Winter storm watches go north and east of here, through Minnesota and through a narrow stretch across Wisconsin and in the upper peninsula of Michigan. In the purple area is where we have red flag warnings up for potential for fire, and there's an area that's indicated from Kentucky across West Virginia into northern Virginia. Hard to believe that it's that dry, but apparently it is. Flood watches are up just south of there in western Tennessee, northern Mississippi, and parts of northeast Louisiana. And I'm sure we're probably going to see more flood watches go up in the next 2 days. We've got also those red flag warnings up West Texas, western Oklahoma, and parts of from Kansas on westward. We've also have high wind warnings and wind advisories all in the mix here. Relative humidity is very, very low throughout much of the Southwest. Extremely dry conditions that have plagued this area for a long time, months and months, and that is not going to change at all with this storm system. Very little moisture going into the southern part of the U.S. We look at the radar at the moment. There's no severe weather around or much in the way of thunderstorm activity. We do have showers moving their way across the Northeast and up and through New England, and this is the leading edge of that very warm air that's pushing into the east. And you can see that there's already snow across Montana, and we have some snow showers also coming into parts of North Dakota, and then some action out in the west. The mountains often get in the way of showing you the extent of the radar action out in the west. So sometimes it doesn't look like much is going on when in fact there is. And here's the Northeast as it continues to see that warmer air moving northeastward slowly but surely, with showers tonight and some heavier downpours across the Hudson Valley on northward into upstate New York. This is going to be moving into Connecticut and in through New England in short order. So all of that is good news for those of you looking for 70-degree temperatures, because we are going to see them. But I got to tell you, folks, I'm getting very suspicious as far as Saturday is concerned. I'm going to bring up the severe weather potential. I'm actually going to have to go back a day here, because what you're seeing here is the severe weather potential for Saturday. Let me see if I can change this to show you tomorrow's. And no, I did that incorrectly, so just give me a moment here, and then we'll go to Saturday's. This will just take me half a second. There we go, getting there. Sorry about that. So let's go to, there we go. Now I'm getting there. Trying to get organized here, folks. It's never easy. But here's our severe weather risk from the Storm Prediction Center for Friday. This is going to be Friday night into Saturday morning. A lot of this stuff is going to develop after sundown tomorrow night. But we've got a large area of enhanced risk from southern Iowa down through much of the western half of Missouri, most of Arkansas, into northwest Louisiana, northeast Texas. This has been expanded a bit since yesterday, and the slight risk area has been expanded a bit, as has the marginal risk and the general area of thunderstorms. So it's all gotten to be bigger than the original forecast. When you look at the Storm Prediction Center's website, one of the takeaways with them, it's usually a good clue. When you look in their day 4 to day 8 time frame, which much of the time, I would say a vast majority of the time, it says predictability levels too low. When they put a severe weather risk in that day 4 to day 8 period, it's probably wise to take it seriously. And again, I'm thinking that this is going to wind up being a bigger outbreak than modeled. Let's show you Saturday's severe weather outbreak, as that moves further to the east. And okay, so here comes Saturday's, and there you have the enhanced risk shifts eastward for Saturday into Sunday morning for the Gulf Coast from southeast Louisiana, southeast Mississippi, a good chunk of Alabama into the Florida Panhandle, marginal risk going all the way up into Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio, and of course that expanding area of general thunderstorms. So it's a little bit less than what it will be Friday night into Saturday morning, but still formidable nonetheless. And when we look to Sunday, which is the first day of that next 4 to 8 day time frame, let me see if I can, I'm sorry, I just want to get this. Okay, we'll have to do it this way. I'm sorry, I usually try to get this stuff done ahead of time, and I often don't have the time to do that. But here we have day 4, and you can see day 5. This is for Sunday now, Sunday night into Monday. You've got a 15% risk for severe weather for that first day in that day 4 to 8 period. So that would be Sunday into Monday, showing it for the East Coast from southern Virginia southward through the Carolinas and Georgia and all of Florida. So more than likely that's going to wind up turning into a slight risk of severe weather on Sunday. So let's go through some of the forecast issues going forward, because there are many, including where all of this, as far as the snow is concerned, for the Central Plains. Where is this all going to wind up? That is a very tough call here. We've got the new GFS model run, so we can take a look at here as that low starts to wrap up. That's a fairly deep low that you see here Friday morning, sitting in northeastern Kansas, and snow throughout much of the northwestern third of South Dakota, southern parts of North Dakota, Montana, back through parts of Wyoming. In the east, you've got warmer air coming up with high pressure off the East Coast, and there's a frontal boundary that's in upstate New York at this point. And also, the other player going into this weekend is going to be a big high coming down from Canada, and you can see it up near Lake Winnipeg, north of Minnesota. That is the big high that's coming down. That's going to wreak havoc on weather forecasters in the eastern part of the United States with this backdoor front. But one thing we know, at least for tomorrow, it's going to be warm up into central New England with temperatures in the 70s. The frontal boundary will be far enough north. Low pressure by Saturday morning is sitting near Kansas City. A band of snow on the northwest side, and also a narrow band of sleet and some heavier snows across northern Michigan through central Wisconsin. And here's that high as it pushes in, starts to drop down up near James Bay. That's a 1042 millibar high, very, very strong, and it's going to try to wedge its way down the eastern seaboard. So by Saturday evening, on the GFS anyway, the backdoor cold front is south of Long Island, south of New York City. The NAM is even more impressive with that push of cool air. I'll come back to it in a second. I just want to show you the severe weather outbreak for Friday night into Saturday morning. So it's going to be overnight Friday night into Saturday morning across the lower Mississippi Valley. And then as we go into Saturday night and Sunday morning, we've got this fairly extensive area of severe weather being indicated from western Kentucky all the way down to just east of New Orleans. And low pressure now at this point, as we move into Sunday, is sitting in western Ohio. Snow on the northwest side, some ice in northern Michigan, and even some ice developing in parts of interior New England. This is going to then lift up as the low moves up into the western lakes, and that trailing strong cold front will trigger off heavy rains and thunderstorms, the potential for severe weather in the southeast over Florida on Sunday, and then that heavy rain that comes into the northern mid-Atlantic and northeast for Sunday night and Monday. And I think it could be on the order of a couple of inches through a good chunk of the area. Once that's done, we should dry out, and next week continues to look very chilly overall across the eastern part of the United States. We have some semblance of a blocky signature to the upper atmosphere, and when we look at the conditions aloft, you can see in the west we've got energy coming in. The old system in the east from the weekend, now here it is lifting out. Let me just back up. Ridge in the east, ridge in the west, trough getting ready to move into the middle, and we've got this Canadian jet that's bringing down that cold air right along the border. The ridge stays strong, but the low-level cold air will come down, and then that trough just swings up and around, takes its sweet time moving through. I mean, this is still Tuesday, and the upper air features in upstate New York. This is a fairly cold flow of air for this time of year, so we're going to have a few days with temperatures not much out of the low and mid-50s. And then as that lifts out, we still have some semblance of a blocky signature. I think if we go a little wider, we'll probably see it better on the upper air. But you can see higher pressures building across Greenland into northeastern Canada in the long range, and that sort of keeps this vortex intact in eastern Canada over Hudson Bay to James Bay, and then you'll get troughs that rotate around it. As long as we don't see anything digging down too far south, it would probably be nothing more than cold fronts that'll be going by. Toward the end of the period, it looks like we get a bit of a break as things start to pull out and change a bit. A little bit of ridging come into the east, but that's so far down the road. I'm not 100% sold on whether this is all going to happen or not. Just a typical volatile late spring pattern. But I want to jump to the NAM model at this point, because the NAM model has been trending colder, and I want to deal specifically with the problem here in the Northeast. And look at this. This is ice that's being, sleet and freezing rain that's being indicated in the Hudson Valley and in through New England, and it gets pretty far south. I mean, it's showing up even in northeastern Pennsylvania. I got to tell you, I'm having a difficult time with this model's view of the extent of the cold air. I know the NAM has been so good. It's going to get a real test here with this backdoor cold front situation, and I'm going to put up the temperature, the contours of the temperatures. So rather than do it in colors, we're going to do it in contours here, and we're at Saturday morning. So we'll go to midday Saturday. One of the things, in fact, let's show you Friday first, because I think that at least give you a stark contrast. Now, we're in the warm air on Friday, so you can see that 60-degree isotherm pushing northward into Massachusetts, the 70-degree plus isotherms running into New Jersey in the Hudson Valley, 75 plus in western New Jersey. Notice how tight the contours are over Long Island, because this is the problem with the wind coming in off the water from the southwest. So you've got you've got a 50-degree contour touching the eastern end of Long Island, and you've got the 70-degree contour at New York City. I mean, that's what happens here. South-facing shorelines take a beating with that southwest wind. So I'm hoping that we see 70s getting into western Long Island at least on Friday. But watch on Saturday. You saw how that warm 60-degree contour pushed up during the daytime. Well, when we start this Saturday morning, okay, which is here, you see where it's the 55-degree. This is at 8 a.m. and the 50 and 55-degree contours. As we go through the day, this is at 11 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 5 o'clock. Now, if this is to be believed, that backdoor cold front is probably somewhere down in central New Jersey. And notice that you actually have a 30-degree contour pushing down the Hudson Valley here by 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Temperatures on Long Island are pretty much all in the 40s. Temperatures throughout much of southern New England in the 40s. Going up north and west of there, you start to get into the 30s. And by the way, now at 8 o'clock, look at this cold push on the NAM building down from this really strong high. Sunday morning, the freezing line is down south of Route 84. I mean, this really kind of shocks me. The 35-degree line crosses Long Island in New York City. The 40-degree line, central New Jersey to southeastern Pennsylvania. The NAM is actually pushing that backdoor front all the way down to southern Delmarva. And as we go through the daytime on Sunday, look at this. Again, I don't know whether I can believe that the freezing line Sunday evening on the NAM actually is just north and west of New York City, just north and west of White Plains, across southern Connecticut, and right over Boston. I mean, I'm having a tough time with the model's view of its temperature profile here with this backdoor front. And eventually you're going to start to see things start pulling northward Sunday night. But even Sunday night at 2 a.m. Monday morning, temperatures are supposedly, according to the NAM, below freezing in northern New Jersey and in most of the northern half of Connecticut. If this winds up being correct, and by the way, the SREF model supports the NAM to a large degree. The European, by the way, we don't have the similar maps to show you here on the European. Plus, we only have 12-hour to 12-hour, but we're looking here at the 5,000 foot level in terms of temperature. So it really isn't all that useful. But I think if we can pull out the pressure anomalies, that we can't see these maps publicly is annoying. But this is Sunday morning on the European with a low in central Indiana. That backdoor front, just like the NAM, is way to the south in the southern parts of the Delmarva Peninsula. It probably lines up very well, by the way, with how the Storm Prediction Center is showing its area of risk for Sunday, which is from southeastern Virginia southward. That's where the warm sector is. And I'm guessing that that SPC is perhaps leaning more to the idea of what the NAM model and the European model is showing in terms of the southern extent of this backdoor front than what the GFS is showing, which is to have that much further to the north. This is a really tough forecast for the weekend because temperatures, if that backdoor comes in faster, you're going to have temperatures that are going to peak at about 9 or 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning and then start falling all afternoon in some areas. I think for central New Jersey, southeastern Pennsylvania, southward, you're going to make the 70s to maybe near 80 before that backdoor winds up pushing to the south. Now, why don't we, let me go back to the GFS, and we'll show you first off the consequences with regards to the blizzard warnings that are up and the winter storm warnings. So we'll put up the GFS's snow forecast here, and here's how the model sees its snowfall right through Sunday and I'll add areas beyond it. It really kind of goes crazy in parts of northern Michigan. A large area of 1 foot to 1.5 foot snows from South Dakota eastward across southern Minnesota and in through Wisconsin. And I mean, you know, I don't know if I buy all of this. A lot of this, what's being shown here, a lot of that may wind up being in the form of sleet. So there could be some serious icing up in the northern half of Michigan. I bet you the NAM model has something also problematic from that respect. It has a much larger area of 1 foot plus snows. But again, bear in mind that in some parts here, through parts of central and northern Wisconsin and the northern half of Michigan, a lot of this is being reflected, is going to be, that's shown here. This is 10-to-1 snow ratio. You're going to wind up, there's going to be sleet in here, sleet involved in here. The positive snow growth map is a lot tamer, okay, and probably makes more sense where you're getting the icing in Michigan, much lower snow amounts when we look at positive growth, and then going across Wisconsin and back through Minnesota, perhaps more of that will be snow, and certainly what's going to be in the Dakotas will be in the form of snow. The temperatures here, by the way, are not crazy cold that we're seeing in the areas where we've got the blizzard warnings up. I'll put the western view, the wider western view, and show you the temperatures. But you know, much of the snow that's going to fall here, as I just back off just a little bit, I mean, it's cold, and certainly in some elevated areas they're going to be down in the teens. But much of the temperatures that we're seeing here are generally running in the 25 to 30 degree range. Now, when we get into Saturday night into Sunday morning, then we start to see, you know, in the area where we've got these blizzard warnings up, you're seeing temperatures that are 20 degrees or less, and even 10 degrees or less. So you're going to see areas here that are going to meet the old definition of a blizzard, which has that temperature criteria in there. You are actually going to see it from the old definition, and not the new one, which is just the heavy snow and the wind. So you can definitely see the forecast dilemma that we are in. It's quite a pickle, and we're going to be trying to figure this all out. And in fact, I'm trying to find me. So here I am. And up we go to the top, bring you back down over here. So let me just say hello to everybody who's on board tonight. Good to see all of you here. I know with the weather in the east getting less and less interesting from the standpoint of snow, you've got you don't have as many of the snow lovers. Mike Bologna, Saturday becoming a turd toilet bowl thermal weekend. When will it stop? I know. And you know something? This is a throwback to the European from 2 days ago, which had this idea, then lost it. I really discounted the European on that. Not to say that it's right, because we don't know that the dam may be wrong in this case. I think this is a real serious model test. When you look at the GFS, it looks much more reasonable, and I know that backdoor fronts sometimes can really get much further south than what models show, but this is a bit much. But that is, on the other hand, that's a big high that moves into western Maine. A 1040 plus high in the middle of April is not something that you see very often. So that is a pretty solid push of low-level cold air, and the sheer weight of that cold air is going to try to find its way as far south as it can. Maybe the NAM has the right idea that the very bottom part of the atmosphere is going to be very cold. Meanwhile, you go up a couple of thousand feet, and it's going to be warmer going up, and that's how shallow this cold air mass is going to be. And I love the emojis. Very, very nice. Thank you. Mary Daniels, 77-degree day on the deck outside with sunshine. Very nice. We're going to see some of that tomorrow in my neck of the woods, which would be nice as well. Things are what we're seeing with this storm system is far more typical of spring than what we saw at the beginning of the month. But it is getting a bit tiresome to see, even with the, I expect backdoor fronts to come down and take temperatures down into the 40s, maybe into the upper 30s. But to see them take that freezing line as far south as it's doing, that didn't even try to happen in February, believe it or not. So it's I'm going to be watching these models closely as far as the weather here for my neck of the woods. And with respect to the temperatures, I think the most important takeaway from all of this with this storm is that this will be a major storm across the north central plains with blizzard conditions. I think the severe weather threat for later Friday night in the western Gulf states and the lower Mississippi Valley is going to be a rather serious one, as it will be the one for later Saturday and Saturday night. And when we get that front to come to the southeastern part of the to the East Coast on Sunday, perhaps the extent of the severe weather will be a bit less. But I think there's going to be a pretty solid outbreak of severe thunderstorms and possible tornadoes with this starting later on tomorrow. And I would agree with many of you with the sentiments about nature being Mother Nature being off her rocker. It does seem like we're seeing a lot of extremes here showing up. I don't think, Lord Kate, that there's going to be severe weather issues from the standpoint of severe thunderstorms on Monday, although I do think that there could certainly be some thunderstorms and some heavy rains later Sunday night into Monday afternoon on the order of a couple of inches. The rainfall is fairly widespread and pretty solid. There's going to be some flooding issues in the east with this, and I'll bring that up for you. Okay, and we'll go back to the east. Actually, I'll put the whole eastern U.S. so we can at least get a full view of everybody, and we'll. The NAM does not go out far enough. The main rain for my area, by the way, eastern Pennsylvania to southern New England, is going to be Sunday night into Monday afternoon, but there will be some rain on Sunday through all of this. You can we'll put the precip up. Here's the total accumulated precip going in through Monday afternoon, and go a little bit beyond that. And the darker purples with the 4 or 5 inch amounts, this is all reflecting the streaks of severe weather that we're going to be dealing with. And you've got a large area of 2 to 4 inches of liquid melted throughout much of the interior Northeast and upstate New York and back over into the Great Lakes, and even some hefty amounts of 2 inches plus in the areas going back west from there, from Wisconsin into the Dakotas, where we're going to see this potential for blizzard conditions in some areas. I think there's going to be a fairly large area of 1 foot plus snows through all of this before it's all said and done. Might be one of the bigger April snowstorms that we've seen in quite a while. I have to really kind of go back. I don't have a whole lot of recollection with regards to the impact of spring storms in the Midwest in terms of specifics, because that's not an area that I forecast for on a regular basis, and I live where I live, so I know my own area pretty well. So I'd have to do a little digging around to see where how this snowstorm would line up with with other mid-April snowstorms. I'm sure it's probably going to be up there for some places anyway. Amazing. Still doing it, still dealing with it, but if this were the middle of May, I'd be really getting worried here, folks. But it is the middle of April. You can see this kind of stuff happen from time to time. All right, folks, we're going to leave it here tonight. Tonight at 9:15, of course, we have the Joe Rayo, Joe Cioffi show on my Facebook page, meteorologist Joe Cioffi, or on Joe Rayo's Facebook page, Joe Rayo Weather. You are more than welcome to join both those pages. That's at 9:15 Eastern Time, and we will be back at this time tomorrow to update you on what is going to be going on for the weekend. It might be that the depth of the winter season is over with, and we are definitely in that first part of spring. But winter really doesn't want to let go. We're going to have everything to deal with here for parts of the country, anywhere from blizzard conditions to very warm temperatures in the east to an outbreak of severe weather across the Gulf states over the next 2 to 3 days. So be sure to tune in for all the latest, not just tomorrow, but also over the weekend. Have a great day, everybody.